I continue the real-time exegesis of the phenomenology of spirit. Hegel explains that the distinctions, the differences between the various figures of consciousness must be grasped as moments of the one unique consciousness in the process of unfolding all its potentialities and making itself whole again. And in the realm of politics, all the difference between conservatives, leftists, liberals, Democrats, far right, extremists, I'm talking about the West, ancient schools of traditions, pagan circles, Christian fundamentalists, they appear to be completely opposed, with nothing in common with one another, completely in contradiction with one another, rejecting the ideas of one another. But in a full process of development, the one singular consciousness will go through each of these steps, each of these modes of consciousness, and it is only by elevating yourself that you can see the full spectrum and how the many distinct individual consciousnesses revolve and resolve themselves in a unity, and that's very difficult to express, but those who have traveled, and if you are watching this video, probably you have been through a spiritual movement, namely you have believed certain things and then negated. Probably you were a leftist and you became a libertarian, or you were I don't know, a Hegelian, and then you stumble upon my video randomly. I don't know what your individual path is, but if you have arrived at watching this video, you probably have had a self-movement within your own consciousness which has brought you there, and you probably understand that people who remain set and stable in one state of mind and do not move, they are stubborn in a way. I don't blame them. I understand why, because we all need stability, but it's very exhausting and very painful to be constantly unstable and constantly on the move. It's exhausting, but it is the very movement of consciousness which elevates itself to spirituality, because you have to explore the full spectrum. And I myself, I hate it. I would prefer if I could just find give me the truth and the peace now. I don't want the bad parts, but consciousness in its very nature is forced to travel the full spectrum and to explore all the modes of consciousness, and this is precisely what Hegel says. So the self-contradictory modes of consciousness are one consciousness in conflict with itself, and this is this self-conflictual state of being which forces it to move. And the example to illustrate this is the difference between the seed and the fruit and the flower and the seed again. That the fruit is the negation of the seed. The flower is the negation of the seed, and the fruit is the negation of the flower. And these are moments of the one same organism, in this case, developing itself, and the flower refutes the seed as being a false existence of itself, but in the same time it is its own genesis, its own origin. It's just the unfolding, the becoming fully developed, and that's why there is only one consciousness, but it is at different stages in the process of its own self-development. yeah, Hegel says that philosophy cannot be expressed only by the purpose at which it is aiming at. The result is not that which is important. The important is the journey. It's the self-movement, the long and painful and exhausting process of elevating the individual consciousness to the grasping of the conceptual knowledge of the substance. And there is a tendency, because I myself know myself to be what Hegel calls the negative, namely that I am separated from my own substance and I feel a lack and an inner void. And the reason why I'm making these videos and why I have traveled in mind so far and is because I need to reestablish my identity with my own substance. I need to reconcile myself with the world, and this is the reason of my movement. I do not do it consciously. I do it consciously, but not necessarily voluntarily, because I am moved by my own inner negativity, which is a lack and a need to reestablish self-cognition with myself and to conquer the world in thought, not by becoming a crazy military dictator, but by fully recognizing myself in the world, and by understanding and accepting that every singular consciousness and every figure of consciousness that I encounter in the world, even the one I don't like, and especially the one that I don't like, are a reflection of myself. And yeah. And then Hegel says that the beginning of culture and of self-extraction out of the substantial life, the unity with the substance, consists in elevating your mind from the immediacy of being one with the substance to separation by a rational understanding, by elevating your point of view to universal viewpoints. And this is the activity of science and the activity of the natural sciences, the social sciences. And when you become a conservative, for instance, you will adopt viewpoints about economics. You will learn about economics in one lesson by Henry Hazlitt, if you're an American, or the libertarian, or the I don't know, the conservative Americans, but you will know about politics, society, a view of the state, an economic doctrine. So by becoming a mode of consciousness, a figure of consciousness, you will elevate your mind to the knowledge of universal viewpoints, and this is the beginning of the path towards ever higher levels of consciousness. And yeah, and the so-called spiritual people, they are in some sort of a peaceful, or they appear to be in a peaceful state of unity with all things, but they lack they lack nothing. They are more wise than I am. I don't blame them, but they have arrived at a higher truth without having gone through all the steps, and that's good for them. But there are those who are in connection with the substance in some sort of substantial unity, and there are those who are completely separated and who are in a tragic and in a desperate state of mind, and they unconsciously wish to be reunited with the substance, and that's why they go through the negative path. And yeah, so the full self-actualizing, self-knowledge, scientific understanding, as Hegel understands the word science, of the one substance, self-consciousness, necessarily needs to go through the scientific path in the modern sense of the word, namely adopting universal points of view, generalities, knowledge of determinate topics like economics, politics, but also physics, chemistry, mathematics, and so on and so forth, and to to transform the experience of being plunged into this world into an intellectual experience. And